The other thing that I thought was going on that was really interesting this week was that the Syria situation just seems to get uglier and uglier. And I don't know how much more dangerous it is, but you had the president warning the Syrians, don't use chemical weapons, which has to be because they saw something that made them think chemical weapons might actually be used in the Syrian conflict. What do you think they saw?
Well, we're picking up from the Pentagon that spy satellites and human intel are picking up the movement of sarin gas from some of the previous sort of stockholes that they know they had to new areas where they could, I mean, the perception I'm getting is that Assad is not going to control Damascus possibly much longer. And Damascus was never truly his stronghold. It's a Sunni city and he's an Alawite. So the general analysis is he'll probably end up trying to carve out some kind of zone that he can still defend, and that the chemical weapons are sort of a threat against anyone sort of challenging that line. I mean, there have been some pretty aggressive reporting that we haven't confirmed that people have actually seen them mixing precursors and getting ready to fire them off. I don't think it's that close, but they certainly seem to be moving it in a direction sort of for a final stand of some point.
And do the Americans and the others in the West have a clear idea of who they want in the opposition and a way to separate out the good guys from the opposition from the bad guys?
Not really. I mean, Clinton's going to a big conference next week where the new opposition body is being established, and a big part of that is to try to get the political arm and the military commands kind of fused into one structure, get aid coming in a way that they can monitor it and sort of show people on the ground in Syria that it's kind of this pro-Western grouping that's delivering goods, because there is a big role of Sunni extremist al-Qaeda elements that are part of this opposition.
Yeah, and that sort of gives you the feeling that maybe we're heading toward the worst of both worlds in Syria, that you're going to have an opposition that is getting stronger, but that is made up of people who are either resentful of the fact that the U.S. didn't help them more earlier, and has a growing contingent of the bad guys. And there's your bad outcome. Not a great opposition finally is in a position to do something about taking over, and meanwhile they've decided they don't like us very much in the end anyway. Or is that too pessimistic?
No, that could. I mean, I think I know the Israelis are particularly fearful that you're going to have just a perfect storm of everything's bad. You'll have an element of the Assad regime, the Iranians, and the Hezbollah still controlling sort of the coastal areas, so they can still ship weapons into Lebanon. You could have sort of Sunni extremist groups controlling certain parts of central and southern Syria, and like the Kurds having their own thing, and all of them would be hostile towards Israel and the Western, and that's a real possibility.
Which only destabilizes the entire region, basically.
Right. And it
because
could bleed
which is so stable with Egypt and the rest of it.
Exactly.
Jay, how quickly could this escalate? I mean, I think everyone's been watching the situation in Syria for months and months. How quickly could this get really ugly now that we're talking about chemical weapons?
I mean, I think the perception is like it really has gotten to the point that you could wake up in a week and find out Assad was gone, and then but there is still no unified opposition, and it could just kind of break down. I mean, I think there is a real, besides just chemical weapons, a real fear of some sort of major ethnic, the Alawite clan that ruled for so long and was so repressive, there could be, real retaliation against them. And the Christians are very worried too.
And then that's when you get your call for U.S. troops to go in, not for security reasons, but on humanitarian grounds, and that's going to be hard to resist because everybody else is, like the Turks are not exactly neutral brokers in these things, and so that could be the mess of next year for Barack Obama, no? And
just the chemical weapons. Say the place isn't totally broken down, but the Pentagon, we've read an estimate that said they'd need 75,000 U.S. troops to help secure the chemical weapons sites. Even if there's, even if they can go in relatively stable, I don't see us being able to send 75,000 troops. So will we try to do a UN sort of operation and get
74,000 U.S. troops and 1,000 from the Belgian Congo.
Mali.
But it's a big threat. I mean, a lot of this stuff is weaponized. It's on Scud missiles, on artillery, so it's a problem.